Yeah. One thing I'm kind of curious about is, I mean, you've been through the thick of it. You've been doing this stuff for a very long time. I remember in an interview I did with you a long time ago, you mentioned that you started with like doing Super Street Fighter 2 tournaments just hosted at your house with like the mode. They had like the tournament
Eight-player
mode,
tournament mode with a
8-player
bracket,
tournament
and I would
mode,
do it.
right? So he was
Yep.
doing that. You've been doing this since the beginning, and now you've been doing this at some of the highest levels. Now doing stuff with the EWC and of course with DreamHack and CEO. You've worked with the Evo guys and everyone. You're in a pretty good position to kind of see how the landscape of the competitive fighting gaming is going, right? And so I guess one of the things that people are worried about these days is obviously rollback. FGC finally got their way, and these major titles are getting rollback, and in a sense, that's it's great. But then at the same time, because online is so good now, there's kind of like offline tournaments are now, a lot of people think it's not as necessary, right? And so, I mean, I guess you would know firsthand what the value of like an offline tournament is, and I guess you probably would have an idea of what the future of these tournaments look like. So
Yep.
I don't. Does it look good, or does it look kind of bleak right now that it's going to just dwindle down into a few major tournaments? How do you see the
I
future of it
think,
offline?
yeah, I think the latter. Obviously, CEO, Combo Breaker, Evo is in a great spot with the Sony RTS partnership. Like it has
Mm,
a real team.
Hmm.
Evo was at the right place at the right time with the right people that grew something special that inspired even me, right?
yeah.
But even then, it was exhausting for four guys to run these massive events and then like kind of hire their friends or staffing. But now they have a huge business behind it that is based on gaming. It's helpful. Ivan Evo helps me with some of my sponsorships and stuff. So I think the major events we're here to stay for better or worse, unless something major happens. In a good way. And again, I'm the first one to want to troll Twitter or online, but it's just miserable. And everyone that's miserable does not go to offline events, because everyone who goes to an offline event will tell you this was one of the best weekends of my life.
Yeah.
So they're
Absolutely.
necessary. Our events actually change lives for the better. One year I went to 4 weddings, 3 of which met either at my house as a group setting or at CEO. So I always would give a speech and shit and be like, "Hey, I'm so happy for them, but also don't forget to register for shit like that."
Nice.
Got to chill.
But
Yeah.
what you got? So I think the landscape has changed. We lost a lot of those, like, I don't want to say mid-level, but the events that had like 1,000, 2,000 people, because it's just expensive as shit,
Yeah.
man. And I still have to risk every year. It's not like this event's safe. I don't know if it's safe until like May when registration's about to close, Luckily, being such a big entity with like all these streams and Tong and TNS, what he built over COVID, and the support of all these events kind of working together more than ever. I think communication is way better than ever in terms of helping each other, giving advice and stuff. But I will tell you, if I was Jebailey today without an event in the past, I would not be able to create a CEO now. It's just too expensive. It's hard. I've mentored a lot of people over the years, or somebody's like, "Hey, we want to do a huge event our first year." I'm like, you're going to fail. It doesn't work that way. You got to do a small event, have everyone that's there happy, then they tell everyone to come the next year, and then you grow from there. But you've seen so many esports events like come out and go, "Yeah, we're going to do FGC, huge." And then have you seen them since?
Yeah.
One event and they're done. So we're in a good spot. The numbers are going up. I mean, if we were dying, Combo Breaker would have like 2,000 people. I'd be at like 1,000. You know what I mean? But Evo's like 22,000, some crazy number.
Yeah.
So we're growing. There's more communication in terms of dates and when your event is, and stuff like that in advance. The companies are invested. Tekken still invested. Street Fighter's invested. Who knows what else is coming? So I think we're in a good spot. Fighting games are in a great spot, because when esports bubble bursts with all these like teams and sponsorships directly, we're still gonna have the community coming out. Because
Oh, yeah.
name one esport event like an Apex Legends or League of Legends. Not saying anything negative about, but name one of them where all those players at the event go to their hotel rooms and play casuals.
Yeah.
They don't. They literally go in to compete for money, and then they go home, or they celebrate, or they take pictures of it. But FGC, like, we want to just keep playing and sit down with other people, right? And connect outside of the tournaments themselves. And that's what sets us apart from everyone else. Everything else is a spectator mode.
Yeah.
I would love Street Fighter and all that to get. And it's incredible. It's funny. I was just in Japan for some meetings. And the first day I get there, Markman goes, "Oh, you're in Japan, right?" I'm like, "Yeah," because my Instagram. He goes, "Are you going to Yokohama?" I'm like, "For what?" He goes, Street Fighter League Japan finals is happening. Like, dude, if I had
Ah,
known that like 24 hours prior, I would have gone straight there, something to check it out. Because I had like 3,000 people.
yeah.
And then you can go on a street, there'll be Street Fighter stream on a window,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like the old, the 70s where they're walking by the TV shop all staring.
Yeah,
And they're
yeah.
watching someone stream. I'm like, this is incredible. America's too spread out for that kind of stuff, but we have the at-home streams. But yeah, and I think we're still getting new players. I honestly believe if there wasn't leverless or controllers weren't better, keep you up with sticks and seeing people win with pads and stuff, we would probably have less players. But now that there's leverless, I think it's getting a lot of those PC players in, from the COVID era that were PC gamers coming out. So I think we're still growing. I think the boom is over. I don't think we're going to ever get anything like when Street Fighter 5 2016 happened.
Yeah.
But Street Fighter 6, incredible game. Fatal Fury's on its way. And then 2XKO, hopefully sooner than later.
Yeah.
We're all kind of waiting, wondering
A
what's
lot
going on
of new
there.
fighting games this year too, yeah. So yeah,
Yep.
a lot of things to see. We also had a similar experience when we went to Japan. We went to the department store. I think it was a big camera.
Yeah, it was just a big
store.
camera. It was like
And
a
then-
mainstream
Yeah,
store.
that was
Yeah.
the we went to the gaming section, obviously, for gamers, and then we can see all these arcade sticks with
Yep.
the display and everything, and there's like photos of like Daigo and Mago and that. It's like, oh, you never really see this in local
Yeah, no,
stores.
in those
Yeah.
sections you usually see like Apex Legends or some of the more like
Dota
like
or
different
League of
genres and
Legends
stuff
or-
like that. But it was
yeah.
cool to see like and they had
Familiar
like
faces.
Yeah, but they were selling like a PC gaming equipment, and you had like the stations, and they had like a fighting game station where I think they had Street Fighter 6 on, and they
Yeah,
had
yeah.
and like you can choose between like there was like a hitbox and like a Mad Cat stick
yeah.
and like all these like sticks that you can choose from, and I remember it was it's interesting because I think in Japan. Right now, Street Fighter 6 is blowing up in a way
It's
that's
huge.
like not just players. There's spectators. People are really interested because
Yeah,
they
people
get a lot
who
of
don't play the game are turning up to see their favorite players. That's
Yeah.
a big deal, right?
Yeah, which and then of course there's still the community players who want to play the game,
Yeah.
which is going to be there, and that's what the FGC depends on. So I think the FGC is in a good place right now, and I think there's a lot of games coming out, but I guess like. So there's always this kind of thing. I've heard I've heard Justin say this. I've heard a few other people when I talk with them about so many games in the FGC, right? So like there's kind of on social media is kind of people celebrate the idea like, oh, FGC's doing great because there's so many new games and all these games coming out. But then on the other hand, there's some people that feel that if there's too many games, it kind of spreads the community and splits it apart in a way that's it's like, okay, well now like people are spending time on this game, so they can't spend time on this game, and now the communities are kind of like getting balkanized because of that, right? So
Sure.
is I don't know, what are your thoughts on that, Alex? Like on
No, I agree. I don't think it's a bad thing, but it definitely affects her. Like, imagine there's only like 2-3 fighting games. Like me personally, Tong and I argue about it. I was like, dude, do we have to do 30 tournaments? He's like, Alex, people come. I'm like, you're right. He's like, even if there's 10 unique people, it's worth it. And I 100% agree.
Yeah.
But it's almost exhausting to a point where it's too much to keep up with. So I think our stream numbers are down across the board because you don't know what the hell to watch, right?
Yeah.
And I think obviously the Capcom Pro Tour is always the number one most watched thing. Then shortly Tekken behind it because it focuses on that. They've created stories, incredible websites where you can track stuff, and stories like that.